A lot of news has surfaced over the last 2 weeks since doing my last MMORPG news video. I almost didn't think I'd make it through writing this video up. I'm hoping that it doesn't end up too long, as I feel like this might be one of the heaviest news weeks in a long while. I even opted to omit some games from this purely so I could cover them individually or in next week's video. But I digress, I'm wasting more time just talking about this, so instead, let's jump right into this week's Weekly Byte of MMORPG news, yeah? Before we get into this video though, I'm going to be doing a large giveaway lasting all the way until Christmas. I'll be giving away copies of Final Fantasy XIV, The Elder Scrolls Online, Arcade Unchained, Astellia, the new Guild Wars 2 expansion, and even a copy of World of Warcraft as thanks for being part of this community. To participate, all you need to do is navigate on over to the giveaway page using the link in the description or the pinned comment below. Let's start this off with what is probably the biggest news of the last week. Astellia Online has finally officially launched. Astellia is probably the largest MMO to have released in the West all year, which may or may not be the saddest thing I've actually heard all year. From what I recall, people hit endgame within a week or so and were ultimately a little disappointed with the endgame. Not because it sucked, but because there just wasn't all that much of it there. But the general consensus was that the game isn't actually a bad MMORPG, instead, it is actually pretty decent. Nothing to write home about, probably not something you'll quit Final Fantasy XIV or WoW Classic over, but nevertheless, it is something that people seem to think can either hold their attention until something bigger or better releases. So, that's pretty cool. If you haven't tried it out already, then you can go ahead and try it out for a month for as little as $10. That way, if you think it sucks, you can just skip McDonald's for the week and you'll be good. Now, this is something that I know firsthand that a lot of you guys are anticipating. Black Desert Mobile. I've been getting messages all year asking me to do a video on the South Korean version of the MMO, but I've held off because I just didn't want to ruin my experience by not fully understanding what was going on. That's all changed though, as last week it was announced that BDO Mobile is not only confirmed to be launching before this year ends, but it has also opened pre-registration for the game. 10 million downloads is what Pearl Abyss claim has already been achieved before launching in the West, and there are no doubt a significant portion of you that are going to try it out once it releases over here as well. I will be the first to admit, I am not a huge fan of mobile games, and especially not mobile MMOs, but Black Desert Mobile is probably the most highly anticipated mobile game of 2019. I actually did a video on Project C last week. It's a brand new upcoming open world MMO developed with the intention of it being a persistent world where players are able to join clans and build societies amongst one another. As I mentioned in the dedicated video, the team working on it are a self-proclaimed all-star team comprised of ex-Ubisoft, Valve, Rockstar Games, Guerrilla Games, and 2K Gaming developers. Whether they still work for the aforementioned companies remains a mystery, but nevertheless, I do want to remind everyone to be very cautious of Project C moving forward. With an NDA in place, preventing players from releasing any information in the form of screenshots or video, the team have opened up founders packs for purchase costing a whopping $150. This is, again, with absolutely no footage, no screenshots, nothing to go off of other than the fact that they are an all-star team. Don't worry guys, you don't need to know what the game looks like before purchasing, just send them $150 and then you can see for yourself. And then, if not to add insult to injury, they've also revealed that they'll be legally selling in-game currency, the one and only currency used to purchase anything in-game for real money. Yeah, isn't that awesome? It's been a while since I talked about Project Gorgon, but here we are. Elder Game, the indie devs behind the game, released a large update recently tackling a variety of issues from combat to balancing. Specifics can be found on their official website or even their Twitter page, but to summarize, they've attempted to focus somewhat on providing players with more survivability options and armor set bonuses. The game is still relatively small, never having really taken off, but somehow managed to find its player base regardless of how large that player base ended up being. I wasn't even aware that this existed until I found its Kickstarter earlier this week, honestly, but there's this brand new self-titled survival MMO in the works called Day of Dragons. Originally, Day of Dragons had sought a mere $12,000 to make the game, but upon completion of the Kickstarter funding, the game made over $530,000 US. The game specifically is like Ark or Rust. They take place on player-hosted servers with multiplayer functionality being available through Steam. You play as a dragon. Yeah. A dragon. And you begin as a little hatchling, actually requiring sustenance to grow into an adult dragon. There are various dragon races that you can play as, and even non-dragon races if you manage to unlock them. It's a very interesting looking game, in all honesty. Ember Sword is yet another MMORPG I have never heard about, and yes, it is an MMORPG, not an MMO. According to their website, Ember Sword is the modern sandbox MMORPG. No loot boxes, completely free to play, and quite a variety of epic bosses to fight in a large open world. The game offers absolutely no classes whatsoever, but does feature both PvE and PvP modes for players to participate in. There are a plethora of unique quests, monsters, and resources to craft items or sold to other players as part of a player-driven economy. Yes, the game employs a player-controlled world. I'm a little iffy on that as I've never really seen it work out all that well, but just because it hasn't up until this point doesn't mean that it can or will this time. The goal of the game is to create a sandbox MMORPG that rivals and then surpasses Albion Online. The game is currently in pre-alpha, so it's a while off before we're capable of getting into test it ourselves, but I am kinda excited. Joining the list of MMOs that are looking to bank on nostalgia, the team behind Dofus have announced Dofus Retro, a brand new classic server for the popular MMORPG. Fans of the old turn-based iteration can log into the Retro server now and play the very first version, with new servers being added regularly to deal with login queue concerns. The game is completely free to play, but offers a subscription pack if you're interested in that. This is the first time I have actually done this. See, in the past, whenever I talk about currently in development MMOs, they're normally given temporary names like Project C or Project V or Z and whatever other letter of the alphabet the devs feel like using. This one, however, has no name. Absolutely none at all. Yet, at the same time, the developers, Mainframe Industries, have raised over $2.2 million in seed funding. The developer in question is made up of veteran developers from CCP Games, known for their MMO EVE Online, Next Games, and Remedy. Their goal? To make a brand new open world social sandbox MMO powered from the cloud. Not only that, but they have plans on making the very same game cross-play compatible with every single platform, consoles, mobile, PC, everything. This is all the information currently known about the Untitled MMO from Mainframe Industries, but it is definitely interesting that they already have millions of dollars funding for a game they barely have more than a base idea for. I think this may be the very first time I've ever actually discussed this in a news segment. Cool. So over the course of the development on Cryptic's Magic the Gathering MMO, the game has experienced various setbacks, long periods of silence, and a general feeling of uneasiness. But as of last week, Cryptic revealed that they are in fact hiring character artists, environmental artists, content designers, a producer, and a UI designer. This is promising news because that means that a lot of progress has been made on the game and that it hasn't been abandoned. Yet, anyway. Now, I actually had to include this because I have had request after request to do a dedicated video on it. I figured, you know what, if I include it in a news video, I might get a bit of slack for not having covered it yet. So a couple weeks back, I was contacted about doing a sponsored video on Perfect World's newest mobile MMO, ReEvolve. And I ultimately turned it down for the time being. However, it doesn't mean that the game itself doesn't interest me. The game is described as being a mobile sandbox MMO with an immersive real-world environment. It has a lot of common features for the sandbox survival genre, like day and night cycles, alternate forms of weather, crafting, building, farming, and the like. The game actually, it looks really, really cool. Although the game is currently undergoing testing in China right now, there is no estimated release date outside of China currently. There is a lot going on with Legends of Aria right now. Most importantly, their recent announcement that they're looking at creating two brand new classes, the Necromancer and the Paladin. Interesting that they are completely opposite class types, one having control over the dead and the other dealing with life. Additionally, they're reworking various PvP features and looking to finish off the rest of the world for players to explore. For those of you that actively play the game, what are your thoughts on the two new classes planned though? A little while ago, I did a segment on the upcoming Asubimo mobile MMORPG Project Eternal. Since then, Asubimo have renamed it as merely Eternal. I would like to point out that this isn't just any old copy-pasted South Korean mobile MMO. No, it is a full-fledged, highly likely, decent quality Asobimo mobile MMO, which to date have all been pretty damn good in comparison to most others in the niche. Eternal is beginning pre-registration for the game right now, with a scheduled launch nowhere to be found for the time being. It's highly likely that we'll receive the game over here in the West, though, as we've received pretty much the majority of Asobimo titles on mobile devices. And here is another very interesting one. Who here knows Raph Koster? Okay, good. Nobody else did either. Woo! According to a quick Google search, he's one of the people behind Ultima Online and Star Wars Galaxies, 2 MMOs that I'm sure all of you know. Well, the very man himself announced he'd raised almost $3 million in seed funding to build a brand new MMORPG with the goal of delivering a diverse play experience and an enriching world. This is all while bringing together proven features from some of the world's most popular games in a unique combination that hasn't been seen before. Very, very bold statement to make, considering developers try to make something unique every other week these days. And that covers the majority of MMO related news that I was made aware of over the last week, or two actually. If you know anything that I missed, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or Instagram with a link to the article so I can talk about it. Anyway guys, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.